Hi, I'm Anthony Parker, and I'm here interviewing Kent Smith about drawn coaching. Uh, Kent, I first heard about drawn coaching a few years ago from you and some other folks who have been working on this approach for quite a while. Why don't you just explain to us in general what is drawn coaching?
Well, put real simply, Anthony, it is a very simple but powerful way to give my focus and my attention to God um, in a place where I am with someone that I trust. And it's really just about that simple. But it's part of the reason that I think drawn coaching is so powerful is because it is simple and because it enables people to pay attention in ways that maybe are not normal for a lot of us.
Hmm. There are a lot of different ways of helping people, developing people. How would you compare or contrast drawn coaching with some of these other approaches?
Well, as you know, I've been training folks in mission work here at Abilene Christian now for about 20 years. And over the years, a lot of different approaches have been taken to helping others grow and mature and connect with God and His purposes in the world. There's been various eras, I'd say, in church planter training where mentoring was highlighted and keynoted, and in more recent times, coaching has become a dominant approach. As we were looking at different ways of thinking about helping people notice what God's up to in their own lives and in the lives of others, one of the things that we found to be missing in most approaches was the real offer that God makes to be our guide, to be our leader through the power of His Spirit, to be the one who's helping us to understand what He wants us to do and joining Him in His purposes. And so drawn coaching kind of grew out of that conviction that at least for Christians, and I think it's true for lots of people who wouldn't even necessarily consider themselves people of faith, they would like to know how their life can align with what God is up to. And so we're discovering, as we kind of walk into this drawn process further and further, drawn coaching, that it really does put God in the center of the experience. And I think that by itself is a huge difference from the way maybe we've approached things in the past, and often people in more secular contexts approach helping others.
Well, how practically does that work? Could you sort of walk me through what's involved in drawn coaching?
Sure. As I've just been mentioning, it begins with our conviction that God is always a God who wants to show His purposes in His people's lives and invite them into that work. And so we begin a typical session with just a brief few moments to let the person who's receiving the coaching pay a little attention to what is it that God might be wanting me to give my focus to today in this session. We don't have to solve all the world's problems. We don't even have to solve all of our problems. What we want to do today is pay attention today to what God is highlighting as an area that I need to work on or want to work on. And hopefully those become the same in the course of the process. So we begin with a little bit of time quietly to listen to the Lord. Those who are familiar with spiritual direction will probably notice some similarity to this approach to coaching and spiritual direction. From there, we take a look at what people see as a preferred future in terms of the area that they've just identified. What is it that I'd like to be better in my life? And we work with folks to help them kind of get as clear a picture as they can of what that preferred future might be. That's the describing desire, the D part of drawn. From there, we look at what the resources are that people have. We review resources with folks. And there we're really wanting them to have a chance to notice how various precursors, various things that God has already been doing in their life may point to solutions for their desire to move ahead in this area. And following a clarifying of what some of those resources might be, we take some very specific time to let the person reflect with the Lord about what would it take to move forward here. Lord, what would you like for me to notice and to pay attention to in terms of a possible way to take a next step here, to move further into your purposes? And so having shared some of those things with the coach, then in a conversation with the coach, they have a chance to kind of weigh those and discern which of those really feels like the thing that is going to be the best fit for my making a next step at this stage. And then finally, having kind of weighed the ways that they might think about possibilities, they move to the final letter N, which is naming next step. What am I going to do here? And it's down to particular plan. Here's how I'd like to approach this. So it's a fairly practical process that helps people in a relatively comprehensive way look at all the dimensions of where they are, what they have in the way of resources, what they might do under the Lord's leadership, and then what they will do in light of that insight.
Wow, so it sounds like a very helpful way to listen to God's Spirit, but then move into very practical action steps that can help a person go where God is leading them.
Precisely. That's the goal.
That's very helpful. Thank you.
My pleasure.